Welcome to this explainer. Let's just dive right in, shall we? Parenting is absolutely amazing, but let's be real, it's also incredibly demanding and flat-out exhausting. And when a caregiver has ADHD, well, those daily challenges of parenting seem to multiply, both in number and intensity. So today, we're unpacking a survival guide specifically for caregivers with ADHD. We're going to go over the tools you need to manage your symptoms while balancing all those daily childcare duties, from diapers all the way up to driver's licenses.
Parenting requires the daily, dependable execution of non-novel, highly repetitive tasks. And for any parent with ADHD, raising children, running a household, and keeping your own emotional health intact, it is a Herculean task. If you know anything about the ADHD brain, you know that non-novel, repetitive chores are literal kryptonite for adults dealing with fluctuating attention and poor working memory. So if you're watching this right now and feeling completely overwhelmed, take a deep breath. Your experience is entirely valid.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the ADHD parenting paradox. Then we'll walk through the stages: early childhood, elementary school, middle school, and high school. Finally, we'll wrap up with the ultimate self-care checklist.
All right, part 1, the ADHD parenting paradox, or why parenting is just so draining.
It's kind of wild how many different facets of family life are touched by ADHD. Think about it. When a kid has big feelings, they look to you for guidance. But if you're managing your own emotional dysregulation, it is so tough to be consistently present. Then there's relationship building. A lot of parents with ADHD struggle to stay engaged during playtime. Let's be honest, staying focused during your 50th game of Candyland? That is undeniable dread for the ADHD brain. Combine that with impulse control deficits and a lack of executive function, and suddenly, planning ahead, organizing the endless logistics of family life, constantly monitoring for safety, and trying to shape positive behavior becomes uniquely exhausting.
So how do we tackle this whole shebang? Step by step, we're going to march straight through 4 major developmental stages: early childhood from ages 2 to 5, elementary from 6 to 10, middle school from 11 to 13, and high school right up to 18.
Moving into section 2, early childhood, ages 2 to 5. The toddler years, fast-paced and highly chaotic. The primary focus here is parent-child bonding and basic fundamental safety, but the ADHD-friendly approach, it requires a bit of structural engineering. To bond in a low-pressure way, try scheduling your playtime and actually use timers. Timers are a lifesaver because they give your brain a set endpoint, helping you stay engaged. Oh, and leave your phone in another room, literally a completely different room. For safety, you have to account for your own distractibility. The solution is creating yes spaces. Engineer a foolproof, safe space for play. Nothing sharp, nothing too high, totally chemical-free. That way, if you get distracted for a split second, the risk to your kid is basically zero.
Here are a few incredibly actionable steps for these early years. First up, prepare go bags. Group your supplies, toys, clothes, snacks, and keep one in the car. It totally eliminates the guesswork when you're rushing out the door. Second, practice play-by-play announcing for positive reinforcement. Just literally describe your child's actions like a sports announcer. Something like, "I see your fire truck on the carpet. Now your sister is picking it up. Great sharing." It makes your praise super specific and immediate. And third, pre-plan simple consequences. Have a list of short-lived responses ready to go, so you don't impulsively react in the heat of the moment.
Okay, section 3, elementary school, ages 6 to 10.
Now we're at the stage where complex schedules and academic responsibilities begin to really tax your working memory. As kids start forming independent bonds and taking on all these activities, the sheer amount of info you need to track skyrockets. So here's the golden rule. You absolutely must externalize information. Verbal instructions? Yeah, they just evaporate for the ADHD brain. You need visual organizing tools. Let me ask you right now, where can you put a whiteboard in your house today? Sticky notes, digital calendars, visual trackers, just get the schedule out of your head and onto a wall.
When it comes to academics, homework frustration and constant interruptions can completely derail an evening. The fix? Set up designated help times. Make sure your kid has a clear workspace free of distractions and establish specific time windows where they can check in with you for help. This stops them from interrupting you every 3 minutes. And for their blooming social lives, schedule a set time every week to prep for playdates and set multiple countdown reminders leading up to social events so nothing slips through the cracks.
On to section 4, middle school, ages 11 to 13.
This phase is marked by puberty and a huge natural pull toward friends. The dynamic of your relationship is definitely shifting here, so the ADHD-friendly approach to maintaining a connection is cultivating attachment rituals. Find an activity you can routinely do with your tween purely for bonding. No agendas, no lectures, just non-judgmental presence. This sets the stage for all those big, awkward conversations about puberty and life. Also, screens are everywhere now, right? You've got to set clear boundaries, especially at night. A great rule of thumb is modeling the habit yourself by charging all devices completely outside of the bedrooms.
All right, Section 5. High school, ages 14 to 18.
This stage is a very high-stakes balancing act. You're granting independence while still needing to keep an eye on things. Your teen schedule is going to be incredibly rigorous. Academics, extracurriculars, a massive social life. As a parent with ADHD, you just might not be able to micromanage that entire schedule. And guess what? That is completely okay. The real strategy here is knowing when to show up. Strategically attending the events that they consider the most important, like the big sports match or an award ceremony, is what truly counts. That's what sustains the relationship.
Teenagers naturally seek out novelty and risk. It's totally normal, but you need structure to handle it safely. First, always validate their feelings, but be crystal clear about which behaviors are strictly off limits. Establish contracts around privileges like money, screens, and the car. And here's a real game changer. Set up a good SAM policy. It's brilliant. You make a hard and fast rule that honesty will always lead to a lesser punishment than lying. It gives them an actionable, structured safety net for when they inevitably mess up.
Finally, Section 6, the self-care checklist for ages 0 to forever.
Think of this as the airplane oxygen mask principle. You absolutely must secure your own mask first. I want to pose this critical question directly to you. How do you reliably, genuinely care for your child when your own brain feels completely overwhelmed? Well, the stark reality is, you can't. You can only do it by intentionally caring for yourself first.
Let's look at the core components of keeping yourself regulated. First, basic wellness. We're talking eating regularly, hydrating, sleeping, and keeping your doctor appointments. Then, self-care skills, things like distress tolerance, emotional monitoring, and simply knowing when to ask for help. And lastly, specific ADHD interventions, which could be medication, cognitive behavioral therapy, coaching, or joining a support group. I really want to validate you here. You do not have to be perfect at these. Actually, scratch that. Nobody is perfect at these. The goal is just to pay attention to them. Strive for progress, not perfection.
So I'll leave you with this one final provocative thought. Scan back over that checklist in your mind. Which self-care skill are you going to prioritize today? Because managing your ADHD isn't just about making your own life easier. It's quite literally the foundation of giving your kids the engaged, healthy parent they deserve. So take one small action right now. Drink a glass of water, set a timer for playtime, call to make that doctor's appointment. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will see you next time.